Today's companion is Sylus, Silverwing Fiend. Silverwing Fiend is a limited blue solar myth pair and also unlocks the specialty matching wand for MC called Crimson Malison. As our beloved Silverwing Fiend with vampiric tendencies, we as the player have summoned the great archfiend Sylus to our side to help break our immortal curse in the sacred core. His powers are centered around blood, roses, and coffins, and he's described by the game as AoE, burst, and empower. He's a classy cane-wielding archfiend that scales on attack percent and defense percent, 3 times higher for defense, and his mechanics have to do with empowerment buffs and state changes with battle resource management. If you've ever read the companion overview screen, you'll see there's a lot of interconnected passives and skills with Silverwing because Sylus. But here's a helpful naming convention. If the prefix is rose, it has something to do with MC. If the prefix is crimson, then it's a Sylus-specific move. If it's blood, then it involves both of you and your bond state. So let's do this. Rose Mark is your passive mark that Sylus applies to MC every 10 seconds, and basic attacks reduce its cooldown. When it's up, your charge attack consumes it to produce a spiky AoE called Rose Thorns, which extracts Blood Essence. Blood Essence is your battle resource and it's below your HP bar. You need 100 points, or the full 5 bars, to cast your Blood Pact active for your state change. You extract, absorb, squeeze out Blood Essence through the following moves: Empowered Charge Attack, so Rose Thorns, Support Skill, or Resonance Skill. Rose Scent is your active skill that, ironically, is not active. It's a buff that increases damage by 15% and lasts 8 seconds. It also automatically activates when you cast Blood Rose Rain. Crimson Break is Sylus's support skill and is a straight-shot magical laser cannon of doom with a cast time that feels longer than it should be. It also absorbs some Blood Essence. Crimson Coffin is your resonance skill. When you have enough Blood Essence, Blood Pact activates your new empowered state, Crimson Bond. The Bond state change, well, it changes several skills. It applies Blood Rose Seeds and is technically infinite until you end the state. Your support skill becomes Crimson Void, and you cannot cast it manually. Sylus auto-casts it when seeds bloom, so frankly, ignore it during the state change. Blood Rose Seeds spawn on the field, and attacks make them grow into Blood Rose Flowers. 1 seed equals 1 rose, and you can have a max of 2 on the field simultaneously. Blood Roses increase Underworld Rift's damage. Your weapon active Rose Scent becomes Rose Rain with a 4-second cooldown where you essentially fire 6 Blood Rose bullets at an enemy by holding down the button. Do not tap, hold it down. You can cast it multiple times and it doesn't consume energy. However, the cooldown increases by 4 seconds per cast. This skill activates Blood Rose Seeds and applies Rose Scent simultaneously. Your Resonance skill becomes Underworld Rift with an 8-second cooldown. Casting this will end the bond state. When cast, all timers and seed growth is suspended, and the damage counts as basic attack damage. Roses are consumed, and each rose increases the damage by 30%. This is a lot of skill changes and timings to remember, based on rank for Silverwing's basic kit. I'll discuss it in the rotation, but I swear, it's not as scary as it sounds. The matching weapon to Silverwing Fiend is a wand shaped like a badass cane called Crimson Malison. It's described as DPS, buff, and single target, and like the Archfiend himself, scales on attack and defense, with defense being the primary scaling stat. As discussed before, the weapon active is Rose Scent, which makes you unstoppable and increases your damage by 15%. It's excellent to activate before using Rose Thorns or your support and resonance skills. The passive is technically considered Rose Rain. the blood bullet attack that fires 6 bullets with a 4-second cooldown and applies Rose Scent. It doesn't use energy and can be used continually during the Crimson Bond state. However, each use adds 4 seconds to the cooldown with a max of 36 seconds. In addition to the standard 5-star myth ranks, Silverwing's matching solar pair ranks are as follows. The starting effect is that when you consume Rosemark, you recover 0.5 of an energy charge. With rank 1, Rose Thorn's damage increases by 10%, and it also pulls enemies in for some nice CC. Casting Blood Pact immediately refreshes active skill cooldown and reduces cooldown of your next active skill cast by 4 seconds. With rank 2, when Crimson Void, your altered state support skill, hits, it applies Blood Spell, which increases damage taken by an enemy for 6 seconds. Additionally, when a Blood Rose blooms, you and Sylus recover 5% of max HP. At rank 3, during Crimson Bond, Sylus deals 10% more damage. When Seeds is applied to an enemy, it also starts growth on roses now. Active skill grants Blood Rose Wreath, which increases your damage by 10% for 8 seconds, as well as firing more blood bullets. Wreath essentially replaces Scent and is also removed when the state ends. Silverwing Fiend requires a little bit of timing, especially if you're R1 or below. You need to watch your blood essence bar to ensure you're maximizing damage, as it can be a wee tiny window of failure. On a boss or weakened enemy, you want to be able to activate Underworld Rift, the big scary window laser attack, before that weakened state ends to maximize your damage output. R2 and above, you have a larger time window on the bond skills and faster cooldowns to do more damage. However, this rotation works for both. Start with your active skill, Rose Scent, to increase all your damage output. Next, Resonate. Use your charge attack, Rose Thorns, to consume your mark, which will also refill some energy. This should get your blood essence bar to about halfway-ish filled. Basic 2 to 3 times next. You'll want to do 3 basic attacks if possible, as your 3rd basic attack is an AoE, and to be fair, sometimes quick enemies, think Luminivores, will dodge that 3rd attack. If you've watched the EXO2 video about dash canceling, we're actually going to do that here. Do 3 basics and then dodge to reset your casting frames to do more damage. So basic, 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 dodge. Whenever your Rosemark is refreshed, use your charge attack, as basic attacks reduce this cooldown. And use your support skill whenever you can. However, do remember it has a really long charge up cast time on the frames, and I am notorious for accidentally canceling it before Sylus actually gets it off. Then, when your blood essence bar is full, resonate and break shields. At this point, the Blood Pact state change button should activate, and immediately press it to enter Crimson Bond. Depending on your matching solars and ranks, you will either have Rose Rain immediately available or not. If it is immediately available, hold down Rose Rain and fire your first set of bullets, putting it back onto cooldown for 4 seconds. Then basic attack or do the charge attack dodge cancel trick for maximum output to start Rose growth, and then use Rose Rain a second time when it becomes available again. If Rose Rain is on cooldown immediately when you enter Bond state, for the next 4 seconds, just do the charge attack, dodge cancel, consuming your Rosemark, and growing roses for the biggest damage output. You'll then want to use Underworld Rift, that's your updated resonance skill with the big windows, before the weakened state ends. So be ready with some fast fingers to press it. Using this skill ends the Crimson Bond state. Then repeat the process and oath as appropriate. Reminder, Sylus will automatically use his support skill during Crimson Bond, so you can totally ignore that skill during this phase of the battle. Thank God. I tend to just be sitting there looking at all the weakened state timers and stuff, so it's nice not to have to think about something extra. A unique play method if you're, say, brute forcing wanderers without Protocore shields, or you're purposely ignoring them, or you just need to do some extra damage output on the boss, you can do what I like to call the Eternal Bond, And this really only works super effectively at matching pair rank 2 or 3, but consider it as needed. You can stay in Crimson Bond, firing Rose Rain perpetually, as long as you don't cast Underworld Rift. It will increase Rose Rain's cooldown by 4 seconds each cast, maxing at 36 seconds, and the trade-off is you don't have a resonance skill, therefore you can't break shields. However, you can gain additional and refreshable damage output buffs. Reminder, at R2, you gain Blood Spell, which increases the damage an enemy takes, and at R3, you gain Blood Rose Wreath, which increases your damage output as MC. Combined, these can take a massive chunk of health from an enemy. While I may call it eternal, you don't need to stay in the state the entire time. However, there are some specific situations, as I mentioned, where you may choose to extend Crimson Bond to, say, 20 seconds, versus doing the normal 8-second turnaround for additional burst damage. Silverwing primarily scales on defense, so prioritize defense bonus across secondary stats when possible, especially because of the empowerment buffs in his kit. He also scales on attack, which you can also include attack bonus secondarily if you have the cores for it. Even though there is built-in energy regeneration for Silverwing, having a little expedited energy boost, especially at R1 or below, can absolutely help ensure no time is lost waiting for a resonance skill or having to extract more blood essence. I will say, Silverwing Fiend is the most stylish of all the third myth companions. I mean, just look at that smug grin as he beats down his enemies. His rotation may seem intimidating, but his play is actually quite flexible, and honestly, it's super fun. If you enjoy playing companions like Silverwing Fiend, you might like these. For more state change carnage, like I said, any third myth companion will feed that need. But I really recommend Rafayel, Lemurian Sea God, for similar play. If you're into empowerment play, aka buffs and debuffs, with a similar battle resource management style, check out Zayne, Foreseer. Feel free to drop me any questions or comments below, and practice makes you better than auto, so get out there and chomp chomp. Otherwise, check out this companion video next, or you can review Lad's battle basics here. Happy hunting!